smelled that too. So did Blake.
Please rise and join us in the pledge. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning. Moines County Board of Supervisors, March 2nd, 2021. Are there any changes to the tentative agenda? I have none.
Yeah, yes you do.
Oh, yes, I do. I can. Under item, clear down under item J, I see we have a lot of items. Approval of a fireworks permit has been removed. I think that was the only change.
Yep, that's the only change.
Thank you, Terry. Meet with department heads and elected officials. I'm gonna go a little out of order. I'm gonna go to Krista Miller. Apparently they're having a vaccination clinic, or we're intending to have a vaccination clinic down at the auditorium. We have a gas leak, so they're evacuating that part of town, and so they're being rerouted, and if you have to leave, we'll get you done early.
Thank you. Yes, so we were doing boost doses today at the auditorium, starting at 9 o'clock. We got a phone call just about 20 minutes ago that the auditorium has been evacuated due to this gas leak. So we are calling people that were scheduled at 9 o'clock and also asking them to reroute them to our public health. Obviously, with that location being a little bit larger, we were able to social distance a little better, so we're improvising, and hopefully we will get everyone taken care of, and we'll make sure that they'll get their 15 minutes of monitoring. We will probably just have to do something more outside and in their vehicles and having staff go car to car. So we're gonna come up with that, and we'll get that taken care of. Currently, our percentage for the county is 4% with 26 cases in the last 7 days. Vaccination clinics have been wonderful. We really want to thank our community volunteers and our partners, Great River Health Systems, as well as emergency management. We have given close to 10,000 vaccines in our county, and by county of residents, it's 9,140. Completion of vaccines has been 2,310, so those are wonderful numbers. Thank you to Colin and his IT team. They've been working with us. We're going to transition our scheduling line to a online service additionally. And so that'll be a link that people can log on to. It's called No Wait Inside. We're hoping to do that in the next week, so people will be able to log on the internet and be able to schedule appointments as vaccine becomes available. We are currently in phase 1B. We've moved into the manufacturing, so we, along with doing people who are 65 and older, we're also working with manufacturing to get, which is the subcategory of tier 2 under 1B. And so we're working with manufacturing companies to get the manufacturing staff that is eligible under phase 1B vaccinated. So we've started those, and we'll have quite a few done yet this week. And the caveat to people that under manufacturing that qualify are people that are unable to social distance in their work day. So it's someone that works within 6 feet of another person in production on a manufacturing line if they qualify to be vaccinated under phase 1B.
Quick question I've been asked. The booster shot, is that the same as the original shot? I mean, is it just another dose of the same quantity and stuff as the first one? Okay.
Good question, yes, thank you for bringing that up too. Yes, it is the same quantity, and I think you all kind of maybe heard that some people after the second shot have had some mild symptoms, and that's very normal. It is the same vaccine that you get for the first one, so the first one brings you about 65. The first vaccine shot that you get brings about 65 to 80% efficacy, and that really starts building up the antibodies. And then with the second shot, it builds on those antibodies, and that brings that up to that 95 to 96%. But your body's response, when you get the shot, your body responds to it, and that's how you build up those antibodies. And some people are gonna get some mild flu-like symptoms. We've not seen any major reactions to this. Primarily, people get a sore arm at the injection site, but definitely it's not uncommon to be fatigued and maybe have a headache, and just feel a little bit flu-like symptoms. But we've not seen any severe reactions, and that's the normal course of what really happens. It's no different than when you get a flu shot. Some people get a little bit, they feel like they're coming down with the flu.
I think the same thing happens with that series, that 2-shot shingles.
Yes.
When I had that, when I got the second shot, it felt like I had the flu for half a day, 18 hours, something like that.
On that second shot, is there a time frame that second shot has to be given, for it to be effective? So let's go.
It is recommended that for the Pfizer, it's 21 days after the first shot, and for the Moderna, it's 28 days. You do have a grace period of 4 days prior to, but we encourage and we want everyone to come back on that recommended day. CDC recommends the most optimal is to come back on that 21st to the 28th day. And we also, it's important because these are boost doses, so we get a prime dose, and it's always matched with a boost dose. So if people come back on different days, then it becomes a problem as far as matching up that boost, because once we open that vial, that has to be used. As far as we don't want to waste any. So if 10 people come for their first dose, 10 people need to come for the second dose to make sure that evens up.
You lost me, because, okay, you said the prime dose and the other dose, but they're all the same thing.
They are the same thing, but the way that's shipped to us. So if we get a first dose, we get a matching second dose.
Okay.
So if we get, 10 doses the first time, we get 10 doses the second time. So they automatically will send us the second dose. So everyone who
I
gets
got
the
you.
first dose
I
gets
got you.
the second. And I do want to reiterate, it's very important for people to go ahead and get the vaccine. I know the flu-like symptoms are sometimes difficult, but it really prevents the hospitalizations and the worst complications from getting COVID. So it's really important that people go ahead and get their vaccine and definitely come back for the second vaccine.
I had my second shot and the next day I was just a little tired, so I didn't have it bad at all. But I'm gonna tell you, being tired was a lot better than being in the hospital with COVID.
Absolutely, yeah.
That's not a good thing.
Thank you, Krista. I hope the rest of your day goes better than you anticipate.
Wonderful. Thank you.
And the county feels very badly about the apologizers for all that are on their way to the auditorium. This was an unforeseen event, so. Terry Johnson, Des Moines County Auditor.
Good morning. The Danville Community School District, special election is going on today. Their polls are open they open at 7 a.m. and they'll close at 8 p.m. and that's for their revenue purpose statement. And the polling location is the Danville Community Building. So anybody that's in the Danville School District can go there and vote on the revenue purpose statement. So, and other than that, we're keeping busy in the office.
Thanks, Terry. Chris Lee, Conservation.
Good morning. The ice conditions at Big Hollow are not accessible anymore.
Yeah.
There's so many people on there this weekend, it's crazy. But judging from personal experience, that ice near the shore is awful soft. And we even have open water between the shore and the ice out there, so I think ice fishing is done for the year. And then we've been getting a lot of questions about camping with this nice, beautiful spring weather we have coming along. We're getting a lot of questions about that. Our campgrounds aren't technically open. We won't turn the water on. Generally, our opening day for camping season is April 1st. And I know it's awful warm out. People are itching to get their campers out, but if you've been out in the county, you know how soft the roads are. The grass areas are just soggy. So we're encouraging people to just pump the brakes a little bit, let things dry up. I would not be surprised if there's a Big Hollow this weekend, but it's gonna wreak havoc on our roads and our camp pads, especially because those are really, really soft because of the type of rock we put on there. We intentionally kind of keep it soft so it's soft underfoot, and it's gonna rut things up pretty bad. So, if you can wait a week or two for things to dry out a little bit more, and we have some work we'd like to do on some of these campsites, getting them some top dress with some rock and things like that, but there's no way we're gonna take a dump truck down those roads just yet. So if people can hold off, we'd appreciate that. I get you wanting to get out, but, come just day trip, use the trails a little bit, but the camp pads are gonna be awful soft. We've already had people asking about the Ford pumping station, and we don't actually have gravel pads up there. You just park in the grass, and I really hope, and we don't really have a way of closing that off either. I really hope we don't have people try to back campers in the grass up there, because you will be chasing those reps for the rest of the season. So, I know it's nice out, but let's ease into it a little bit, if we can. Otherwise, just kind of, we're gonna be transitioning into spring mode. Like I said, April 1st is our target date for having the parks open. If it stays nights like this and we do dry out, you know, we will push that up a little bit and try to get things opened up and ready to go. But we'll just kinda have to see what the weather brings us.
Well, that email Jeff sent out, what's Top Gun? Can you explain that?
That's probably a better question for Kevin, but it's the local law enforcement event that they have. It's a competition that they have every year, plus a fundraiser. And they use our entire range complex. And so per our rules, we generally don't allow reserving the entirety of the range without special board approval. And so
It's a area law enforcement competition, just brings everybody together, and we put together basically a combat shoot for law enforcement.
Good, I thought it might be something like that, but I didn't know.
Yeah.
So we have a special champion that's like every year running that you can get us all excited about? So we can-
Well, the state patrol won it last year. The county won it the several years before that, so it's a good competition to have. It keeps everybody motivated. I have never won it.
Be honest, the state patrol cheats, don't they?
Brad's healthy again.
Yes.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Chris. Colin Gerst, IT.
I was keeping busy like always, but nothing to report, so.
Thank you. Ken Hyman, Community Services.
Good morning. Last Wednesday, SEAL had a meeting with Community, who does our mobile crisis response. They've been doing mobile crisis response from Iowa City area, and they've been doing it in 4 of our counties up near Iowa City. But they've informed us that they don't plan on doing mobile response after July 1. So we're gonna have to do another RFP, and that mobile crisis response will have to look for another. They were the only person that bid on it the last time we had a request for proposals. And so we'll be working on that. One thing we're trying to do is talk with local law enforcement and talk about mobile crisis response, and we got the talking points from when we first talked with them, and see if there's other things that they're looking for before we RFP this. So I'll be setting up a meeting with sheriff and with local police department, and just trying to talk about mobile crisis response before the RFP goes out.
We might be having another meeting. We're trying to set up now that might get a little information out of that as well.
Yeah, good. So that's all I have.
We're supposed to have a crisis assessment team coming shortly too, aren't we?
Yeah, you know, I'm not on that committee, but that is associated with this, and that, in fact, Sarah had some sheets for CIT that she said, well, I had to bring that to this meeting too, so.
Okay.
Yeah, and we can invite other people from our region, but what we decided as a management team was just talk with our local law enforcement, each one of us, coordinators of disability services, and then we'll come back together and we'll try and talk about it before we have the RFP, which we'll use regional planning again for the RFP, I'm sure, so.
Thanks, Ken. Brian Carter, Secondary Roads.
Good morning. Well, I suspect our gravel roads are probably the topic of conversation for a lot of people, so, yeah, a lot of, not really, I don't know, a lot of soft spots, but more potholes. Afternoons are soft, mornings are firm right at the moment. I mean, every road's got decent spots and every road's got bad spots. I mean, I think that's a pretty fair statement, and that's just where we're at.
At least it's not raining.
I agree.
Right on.
I agree completely. Yeah, this, I mean, if you were gonna go through the winter we went through, I don't think you could ask for a better drying out scenario than we've had. The problem is we need to dry out before, a little bit like Chris said, we need to dry out before we can do a whole bunch. Friday morning was our first rock that we've been able to haul, or that we
We tried to haul. We didn't haul the whole day. It just got soft early. But again, we continued to dry this weekend, so now the guys we're hauling all day, but they're bouncing around a lot, because if you just sit there in one spot and run on it, you'll just rut it. You'll ruin it worse than you're fixing it, is what'll happen. And so it's gonna take some time. And to be honest with you, just dumping rock and everything's never gonna fly, because we don't have the money to dump spot rock on everything anyway. So the frost is gonna have to come out at least that top 4 to 6 inches. They're gonna have to firm up to where we can actually do some blading. And as of yesterday, took a look at a spot, and right now it's just the roads are too firm, you know, to be able to blade. And then sometimes they do loosen up in the afternoon, but the problem is then it's gotta be that perfect balance of not being too wet. So it's not a time right now where we're actually able to do a whole lot of blading. For the most part, what the guys are doing is just following rock trucks and trying to get rock spread out. So that's just the nature of it right now. I mentioned on an email, if you guys have any spots you've had calls about, I'm happy to run out after the board meeting so you can take a look at them and show you some other spots and kind of give you a perspective for what we have. I would recommend riding with me. You're welcome to take your own vehicle out if you wish, but there are some spots that are pretty rough. You're gonna wanna slow down.
I'm not taking my car out on my bus route, I'll tell you that.
So I was on some of your bus route yesterday, actually. It's just right now, that's just the way it is. We knew it was coming, and if the people that live out there are honest, they knew it was coming too, if they paid attention to the past. But it will get better, but it will take time. There is no magic wand to just do it all at once. I wish there was. It would be happy, everybody would be thrilled with that, but there's not. So we always said, we're gonna haul spot rock all week. And that in no way will get everything. I'd love to think that maybe once we come through the weekend and we get into early next week, maybe it'll be loose enough, we can dry enough, we can maybe do a little bit of blading also. But it's hard to tell when that frost is really gonna come out. You know, you sit here with this warm weather, but I'm here to tell you, yesterday, the guy, I went and took a look at some shallow pothole spot type of thing, and he could only take about the top inch or two. And that's all, with all the weight he could put into it, could get through. It was just still that frozen underneath.
This is probably a good time of year to remind people that it costs $1 million a mile to pave a road. Des Moines County has what, 450 or 60
Gravel
miles
roads.
of gravel roads and what, 50, 60, 70 miles of dirt roads.
I've had the paving conversation. I've had a lot of conversations, which is to be expected. And yeah, the paving one came up even yesterday. It's just, you know, economically, it's not feasible. So, yeah, we'll do the best we can. Give us some time, and it'll heal back up. It'll come back into shape. We'll get back into our rocking program for the full county and just keep on moving. But we were just the way we went in a little bit damp right at the end of fall. We had a really up and down winter. It was mild, but we had ice early. We had obviously a hard snow stretch. We were bound to come out with something like this, and we'll wait for the frost to come out. To be honest with you, right now, everything we have is fixable with some, you know, with some manpower and maybe some rock, maybe just some blading. I told somebody yesterday, I hate to say this, but I have seen this go quite a bit worse. Chris had this experience just a couple years ago. When the frost comes out, you think you've seen it now, you didn't see nothing yet. If the frost comes out and we get the boils that have occasionally come along, you'll understand what impassable is. I hope that's not the case. We won't know until that happens, and we'll deal with that if it happens also. So, but anyway, quarries are open, we're paying for rock and doing what we can at this point. So, if you guys, I know you guys get some calls, don't hesitate to either have them call our office or just pass it on to me. We do go take a look at things, but if it basically sits on the same plane as everything else we've looked at, It's just, we're just keep packing away, working away, and making headway as best we can. So,
Thank you, Brian.
yeah, thank you.
Jared Lasser, land use.
Nothing in particular apart from one item on the agenda, so other than that, just keeping busy as normal.
Thank you. Lisa Schaefer, Des Moines County Attorney,
Right
and
now,
presently
we are,
homeless office.
yes, we are evacuated, right now. Most of my staff is actually in the office across the hall. Sounds like it won't be until after lunch before we can get in, so we're gonna go figure out what we're gonna do with our staff for the next few hours. The attorneys just happened to be in court this morning anyway, so it was a non-issue for them. Otherwise, we are just going along and getting along. No, go ahead.
The courts are open.
They are.
How's it working?
So far, so good. The associate court trials last month, they just ended up all working out, so they didn't have any. The district court case went, I think Chris Scarborough handled it, said the new system works really, really well, especially with the way we're social distancing our jurors. So there are no complaints from the judiciary about the new system.
Good, good, good. Thank you.
I'll be back.
Okay. Sheriff Kevin Glendenny.
Things are going well at the sheriff's office, nothing major to report there, and the jail numbers are trickling down, so they're down to 76 today. 3 more leaving, our out of county is at 11, so hopefully we'll see that also trickle down as well over the next several days as we get our numbers in hand.
Thank you, Kevin.
Yep.
Janelle Nally Longquist, Des Moines County Treasurer.
Good morning. We're just keeping busy. Yesterday was extremely busy. I think we did well over 140 motor vehicle titles, and I guess the nice weather brought everybody out. I don't know. But anyhow, busy, and we're starting, of course, on the second half property tax collections, so nothing, oh, there is an agenda item, but other than that, busy.
Okay, thanks, Janelle. Angie Vaughn, Safety.
Good morning. I really don't have a whole lot to share. We're keeping busy. I will say our numbers have been really good, so hopefully we keep up that. And getting through a hard winter and a lot of ice and snow, you know, that's usually we kind of get hit on that. But we've had a good year, knock on wood, so right now things are going well. Just figuring out new plans for training. We've got some big trainings that are gonna be coming up this year, so trying to get those worked through and get the people in to do the trainings for us, so.
Thank you, Angie. Rodney Buisner, Maintenance.
Good morning. Just busy this morning trying to keep tabs on the gas leak down there, getting everybody evacuated down there, so it's still kind of going on.
Do we
So
know
keep
exactly
tabs
where that
on-
was?
What's that?
Do we know exactly where that was?
It's right on the corner there by the railroad tracks where Frank Miller and Company is, they're building, and then the railroad tracks, kind of on that corner between them and the auditorium, on that far south corner, southeast corner. That's where it's at,
So
so.
it's not down where they're working down here then?
No, it's not down here, it's down there a little ways, but the wind's blowing directly this way, so
That's what I was just
everybody
gonna
can
ask.
kind of smell it down this way. So they've evacuated a couple blocks down that way, not down this far yet, but we're trying to keep tabs on that and see where that's at. Other than that, had a couple committee meetings and an agenda item. Thank you.
Thanks, Rodney.
Thank you.
We got anybody online? Miss anybody? I don't think so. Okay. Correspondence. Proceed to discussion and vote. We need to open a public hearing for adoption of a resolution approving the fiscal '22 maximum property tax dollars.
Move to open fiscal year 22 maximum property tax dollars public hearing.
Second. Terry?
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Shane McCampbell,
Yes.
Tom Berkner.
Yes. Okay, whereas the Des Moines County Board of Supervisors have considered the proposed fiscal year 22 county maximum property tax dollars for both general county services and rural county services, and whereas a notice concerning proposed county maximum property tax dollars was published as required and posted, on county website, whereas a public hearing concerned the proposed county maximum property tax dollars was held on March 2nd, 2021. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Supervisors of Des Moines County that the maximum property tax dollars for general county services and rural county services for fiscal 22 shall not exceed the following. General county services, $8,203,758. Rural county services, $2,561,663. The maximum property tax dollars requested in general county services for fiscal year 22 does represent an increase of 17.93% from the maximum property tax dollars requested for fiscal year 21. The maximum property tax dollars requested in rural services for fiscal year 22 represents a decrease of 6.32% from the maximum property tax dollars requested for fiscal year 21. Both of those changes exactly reflect the addition of the DESCOM budget that the county general levy funds the entire DESCOM budget, and as opposed to it previously being funded per capita by the cities and the county, and it decreased the rural county services in the amount that was going toward their per capita share of DESCOM. So that's the only difference. It was an increase of 64 cents in the levy for the general county services, and a decrease of 34 cents for the rural county services. Is there any public comment regarding this? Did you receive any emails or?
No, I have not received any comments.
Okay. We need to
On
close.
that side, move to close the public hearing.
Second. Terry?
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Shane McCampbell,
Yes.
Tom Broker.
Yes. Okay, we need to approve the resolution.
I move that we approve the FY 2020 or 2022 maximum property tax dollars.
Second.
Terry?
Shane McCampbell,
Yes.
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Tom Broker.
Yes. I don't have much stamps.
Oh my gosh, I'm sorry.
Probably just as well. I should have noticed that when I walked out here, shouldn't I?
So we're gonna blame that on Bob?
He's not here.
He's got broad shoulders.
So blame it on which Bob? Back
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
That's a good point.
Excuse me, but couldn't we blame that on the gas leak?
That'll get,
As we're gonna blame everything today on the gas leak.
Sounds good to me.
good call. This is a good day to have a problem.
You can blame it on the Bob while you're there.
That could be, the smell of gas could be interfering with my reading ability.
No.
The bus driver has spoken.
Okay, we have a resolution setting the time and date for a fiscal 22 budget hearing. Be resolved, the Board of Supervisors hereby fixes the time and date for a public hearing on the fiscal 22 budget estimate for Tuesday, March 23rd, 2021 at 9 a.m. in the boardroom in the Des Moines County Courthouse. The Des Moines County Budget Director is hereby directed to publish the notice and estimated summary as required by law. This resolution shall take effect immediately. we need an approval.
Okay, I move to approve resolution 2021-011, setting time and date of FY '22 budget hearing.
I'll second that.
Terry?
Shane McCampbell,
Yes.
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Tom Broker.
Yes. Okay, we have a resolution setting the time and date for general obligation county purpose loan agreements in an amount not to exceed $3.6 million. I'm going to spare you all the pain of reading all of this. This is a public hearing to approve the loan agreements in our line of credit program that pays for insurance, capital expenditures like building improvements, vehicles, IT, equipment, that sort of thing. And if it's, if there's no problem, we'll waive the reading and just set the somewhere.
If you look.
We will set the,
Look on about the third page, I
No.
think it's the first legal notice for one of them.
I read this a couple of days ago, I didn't check what page it was on. The Board of Supervisors will meet on March 23rd, 2021 at the County Courthouse, Burlington, Iowa at 9 a.m. The purpose holding a public hearing on a proposal to enter into a loan agreement. Okay. So it will be March 23rd at 9 a.m.
Move to approve resolution for general obligation county bond.
Second.
Terry?
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Shane McCampbell,
Yes.
Tom Broker.
Yes. Okay, we have a accounts payable in the amount of $859,337.13.
Move to approve.
Second.
Terry?
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Shane McCampbell,
Yes.
Tom Broker.
Yes. We have payroll reimbursement claims, in the amount of $180.20.
I move that we accept the payroll reimbursement claims of, for February 26th, 2021 for $180.20.
Second.
Terry?
Jim Carrey,
Yes. No.
oh, excuse me, got that turned around, don't I?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, jeez. Shane McCampbell,
Yes.
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Tom Broker.
Yes.
Stamps have me all off.
Okay. We have a 2080 agreement.
You don't have the document. Can I blame this
Oh.
on the gas leak too? This is the same thing we've talked about, but the Lee County engineer and I, simply our schedules never matched up, all the way even to this morning. I was supposed to go get it yesterday and I spent the entire day discussing gravel road issues. So, you can either table it or you can approve it, and I'm hoping to have it here this afternoon.
I've read it online.
I've read it online
Good.
too.
They've approved it.
Yeah.
We just have to run it through, so you don't have the formal document yet, you should have it this afternoon, but that's where it's at, so.
Is there a problem with us voting on that? We've seen it.
As long as you've read it.
We've,
Oh,
yeah, we've read it.
Yeah, you've had work sessions and you've seen it, so. Sorry about that.
Digital,
but Like I
digital.
said, it's all the gas leak's fault.
I'll move to approve the 2080 mutual aid agreement with Lee County.
Second.
Terry?
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Shane McCampbell,
Yes.
Tom Broker.
Yes.
Once I have it, I'll get it to Terry and I'll let you guys know. Thank you.
Okay. We have, when we discussed this over the last few weeks, we have the jail quotes for the replacement of the generator. It's really close. I might find them.
Yeah.
Have you got those final numbers without the
Yes, I do.
extra gas tank?
Yeah, the extra gas tank was gonna be an additional, comes with like a 546 gallon tank, I believe, an additional tank. 527 gallons was an additional 5,000. We don't feel we would need that. We'd only add about another day or two one time, so. The final numbers, we got 3 quotes. Basine Electric, total amount was $160,953.82. Frank Miller and Company was $161,285, and Seether and Sherry was $212,461. So yeah, we had
Yeah,
a
good bids.
couple quotes that were really close there, some good bids. Once again, this generator would take care of everything. Our current generator does not cover everything. We kind of discussed that in the work sessions. I don't know if you want to go through that again or not.
No,
but,
just, and it's quite honestly, they're both in the, what we expected.
Yep.
I think we were just figuring right around $160,000. So it's 100, so.
That's for the jail. Yeah. So we would recommend approval of Basine Electric for $160,953.82.
What are your pleasure, gentlemen? To accept the.
Yeah, okay. I move to approve Bazzini Electric at $160,953.82 for the jail generator quote.
Second that.
Terry?
Shane McCampbell,
Yes.
Jim Carrey,
Yeah.
Tom Broker.
Yes.
Thank you, guys.
Have a good day, Robin.
There's several copies of these.
The colored ones are the originals.
Here, you want one?
Okay. Poor stamp one, I wanna make sure that we're going back and have some. Okay.
Could I ask a question?
You bet.
Have we looked any further at getting a generator for the sheriff's department, or they don't have a generator, correct, over there for your offices?
We don't, no.
Well,
We had talked about that one time, and then it,
and that's been a while back, that's been
Yeah.
several years ago. Can they run off the courthouse generator?
Our actual power, no. So when we lose power, we're out of power, and it hasn't been a major issue, and if it was a long drawn out issue, I think we would have other options. I guess if the board wanted to look at a quote, I'd be glad to work on that. Of course, it's not a major issue until something happens.
Yeah.
But we have developed new options with working remotely, and the way IT has a lot of it set up, and I don't think that our ability to serve the public would come to a halt if we lost power there.
And we've had this discussion before, maybe more than once. So, yeah, and if it doesn't seem to be a problem, we'll let that sit there. If you ever think it becomes a problem or something like that, please bring it to the board.
that is one good thing that came out of COVID then.
There you go.
Gotta look at the positives.
I get it. Stick that in that pile too. Okay. We have the final plat and resolution for the KC subdivision.
Alright, this is a 4-acre lot, 1-lot subdivision. This is just a little bit south of Sperry and then east of Highway 61. There's an existing 55-acre farm property there where the easternmost 9 acres of that property are split from the rest by a little stream, a little wooded area running north-south. And this proposal will have the southern half, or the southern 4 acres of that split off by the corner of 182nd and 120th Avenue. And the intention there is to sell that property, and they already have somebody in mind to buy it who intends to build a home on the lot. In terms of the review process, we did get the usual comment from the health department that because there is no septic system currently present, they would have to get a permit for that before constructing a house and then have it installed before the home is occupied. So we included the usual condition on the resolution for that. We also, this is actually a first for Zach and I, for the last 3 years we've been working on land use. We did get a comment back from the NRCS, Natural Resource Conservation Service, indicating that a portion of the area to be subdivided, it has a CRP, Conservation Reserve easement. It's actually it kind of runs right along the edge of that creek and up along the north edge of the property. I checked back with them and determined that that contract actually expires later this year in October. And I learned from the subdivider as well that they were well aware of that, and that is actually the reason for the timing of having this split off now is that it's about to expire, and so those stipulations would no longer apply once that is the case. So he said he is aware that the buyer is aware of that and is not intending to build until that contract expires. However, just as a precaution, just to have so there's some record of that communication having taken place, I've included a condition on the resolution as well that notes that a CRP agreement is currently in place, and then the county would not be responsible if the owner were to build on it prematurely to that expiration of that agreement. So I would recommend approval of KC subdivision with those 2 conditions.
Move to approve the KC subdivision with stipulations that you put there.
Second. Terry?
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Shane McCampbell,
Yes.
Tom Broker.
Yes. Thank you, Jared. We'll sign those. Okay, we have a assignment of tax sale certificates. I believe we've seen documents like this fairly regularly. Byron Gashler, 14876 Washington Road, Lot 23, West Burlington, would like Moines County to assign over their interest in tax sale certificate number 17-0397 to him. His reason for purchase is for investment purposes. He's offering to pay 100% of all the delinquent taxes owing and currently payable on this parcel in the amount of $1,035, as well as the $10 assignment fee. Mr. Gashler's done this a number of times and has stayed current on his taxes.
Correct.
So, what's your pleasure, gentlemen?
I've got both of them listed there, Tom, so you'll have to
Yeah,
read the
there's
other
2.
ones.
Oh, there's 2.
Yep, there's 2 of them.
Oh, okay. I apologize. Byron Gashler, 14876 Washington Road, Lot 23, West Burlington, would like Moines County to assign over their interest in tax sale certificate number 19-0494 to him. His reason for purchase is for investment purposes. He is offering to pay 100% of all the delinquent taxes owing and currently payable on this parcel in the amount of $598, as well as the $10 assessment fee. So that's 2 properties, taken both at the same time.
All right. I move to approve assignment of tax sales certificates number 17-0397 and 19-0494.
Second.
Terry?
Shane McCampbell,
Yes.
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Tom Broker.
Yes. Okay, we have a Class C liquor license for Harvest View Farms. For March 14th, 2022.
I move to approve Class C liquor license for Harvest View Farms.
Second.
Terry?
Shane McCampbell,
Yes.
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Tom Broker.
Yes. We have an appointment to a Danville Township trustee position. To Des Moines County Board of Supervisors. I am requesting your approval for a 4-year term expiring on December 31st, 2024. As Danville, Danville Township trustee. Stan Nelson, 18008 Roosevelt Street, Middletown, Iowa.
Move to approve Stan Nelson's for Danville trustee?
Second.
Terry?
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Shane McCampbell,
Yes.
Tom Broker.
Yes. And
And I'm pleased to announce that means all of our positions are filled for
Oh,
the
that's
first time
nice.
in several years.
that's nice. Thank you, Stan. That said, that's a harder job than we've got.
Is it, Dylan, thanks again.
I missed one of them. Did I get that signed on the first one?
No.
Did I get it signed on the second one?
You got both of them there.
No,
He's only got one.
one of those.
There should be two of them, and there's one sheet that only Tom
Oh,
has to sign.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Damn, yeah, that's clean. Thanks, Michael.
You bet.
That's what it is. It's like you have to-
It is.
Reading those schemes can do terrible things to you.
I'll just have to double check everything before
I
you
should have a
guys
mask on.
Good boy.
Okay. We have a certificate of organization for the Des Moines County Agricultural Extension Council.
I move that we approve certificate of organization for the Des Moines County Agricultural Extension Council.
Second that.
Terry?
Shane McCampbell,
Yes.
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Tom Broker.
Yes. Personnel action for the Correctional Center. We have Seth Dixon, part-time correctional officer, resignation, effective March 1st, 2021.
Move to approve?
Second.
Terry?
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Shane McCampbell,
Yes.
Tom Broker.
Yes. We have the jail statistics report. This report will be on file and available for public review in the auditor's office. And we have minutes for the regular meeting, February 23rd, 2021.
Move to approve the minutes for February
Second.
23rd.
Terry?
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Shane McCampbell,
Yes.
Tom Broker.
Yes. Is there any other business?
I have none.
I have none. Future agenda items.
I have none.
Committee reports.
Do it again.
I attended a meeting of the Des Moines County Courthouse and Public Building Security Committee, and just short as one of those meetings I remember on record. There was,
Getting everything lined out.
yeah, there was, so not really anything to report there.
I've got nothing except for, apparently until I get my paperwork filled out for community action, my name is iPad. So they're not gonna call me Shane until I turn in my paperwork for the next
Oh,
meeting.
incidentally, and I just, yesterday I got an email from somebody wanting to know who was going to replace Bob on the county fair board.
That's me.
Are you?
I'm on that, yeah.
Okay, I will forward that email to you. I didn't know if that had been decided or not, and I was gonna mention, I almost forgot I was gonna mention that
It's
this morning.
already, yeah, it's already on that.
I will, they've got a meeting, I think, later this week. I will, I'll get that to you after the meeting.
We, well, never mind, I know Bob told his son, so.
Well, and that's, I think somebody that I know you told, checked on Shane, because they wanted to know who was gonna replace him. There was a meeting coming up. They'll get it straightened out in another year. Public input. If anybody from the public would like to address the board, we have set up an email at board@dmcounty.com, that's BOARD@dmcounty.com, or you may call 319-753-8203, extension 4. That's 319-753-8203, extension 4. We'll give you 2 minutes to initiate that call or email. Anybody in attendance has any comments? And thank you for your suggestion, that's.
Yes. I think we have a meeting coming up with the engineer, county engineer, after this meeting. I suggest all you people stick around and listen to him.
We know better.
Nice try, nice try. I appreciate it, Jim, thank you.
You get paid to listen to it.
You don't, huh?
No.
Some things money's not worth.
There's just not enough money on earth.
Some things money can't buy.
Lisa, did you get all your money spent Saturday? When we run on to you and your
I was
husband?
really just there for a plastic flower pot, so
Plastic flower pot?
I spent my $4 and I was ready to go home.
You know, I seen a thing on internet, you buy these plastic flower pots and you buy that Rust-Oleum glow in the dark, you know, it picks the stuff up. And you put that out and put your flowers in that, you know, and at nighttime it glows, it shows your flowers off?
That would defeat my need for pitch black when I'm sleeping, because our deck is like right off of our bedroom, so
You don't want that?
no lights.
No lights?
No, I took black nail polish to cover up the green light on the.
Are you one of those who have to have pitch black to sleep?
Yep.
I'm with you on that, for the record.
Now, I actually bought
My
some.
husband and I compromised, because I like pitch black and absolute silence, but he can't sleep without a fan, so we just
We
compromised.
do the
I get-
fan, but it's gotta be pitch black.
The fan I could do without.
We've learned so much about each other.
I have the high dollar shades. It's dark in the middle of the day.
I bought some of that glow in the dark
Unless somebody
spray,
got
Yeah.
this
because I had some pots I wanted to put out on my deck,
Yeah,
and they were really nice pots. It's not very good.
it's not very good?
No, it leaves a weird film on it, so they look horrible during the day, and then it fills off pretty easy, and yeah, I was very disappointed, yeah. And it doesn't glow very well at night either, so.
Well, Lisa, see now, don't buy that stuff.
That's
He
one of
takes it
those,
back, he takes it back now.
Yeah.
that's one of those Pinterest fails, I think.
If I see that again, I'll write scam on it.
I almost
If
get
it
ready to order
sounds too
some
good
from
to be
Mrs.
true, it
Broker.
generally is.
I mean, it's a good concept, it just doesn't work very well.
She's unhappy the squirrel was out smarter yet again.
Oh, no. Well,
The
if she
feeder,
puts
so-
this paint on it, they'll be able to track the squirrel at night.
This is the kind of stuff I really want to learn. Maybe I'll post it on Facebook.
That'll drive your viewership down.
With no further public input, with an eye, we're adjourned. We are adjourned. Thank you all for attending this morning, and have a great day, and I hope your day gets better, Lisa.
Yeah.
We have a work session with the county engineer, an update on new equipment and construction.
All right.
Want to
so-
introduce yourself for the record?
Brian Carter.
That's not what I heard.
No, it's been a couple other names. County engineer. I won't take much of your time. Just decided to do a quick work session to hit a couple topics all at once. First of all, as you guys may or may not have remembered, we did in fact bid the geode project. The number, if you look through the budget program, the budget from even last year or the beginning of this year that we presented showed an estimate of 220. But as time progressed and as we reevaluated that estimate, the final engineer's estimate was 247 and change. And so I want to point that out. The low bid was Jones Contracting at 250 and change. So just to give you an idea on that, we had 4 bids and 3 of the 4 were very competitive. The highest was, of the competitive ones, the next one was 258, the next one was 264, so right in that wheelhouse. And then the high one went up to 329. So good numbers. It's not as, I think we're on the tail end of the really supremely good construction prices. I don't think we could have bid more work for the price we bid maybe ever and gotten the value we got. Steel's going up. Right now, steel suppliers won't guarantee a bid now longer than 3 days from what I'm being told. So input prices are going up, which is gonna drive bids up. Plus, geode's a tough place to work. If you got a paver, it's tight quarters. It's hard for the guys to do the work on the side from the concrete. You got a sheer rock wall on one side, and so I'm not surprised that it was around that price. That was one of the reasons our estimate went up. It wasn't because we expanded the project or anything. It's because we really went and instead of just putting in some of the prices we'd seen, we tried to modify the prices to the challenge of the site. And so I thought they were reasonable prices. Where that's going though is that one of the projects I mentioned during our budget hearing and such was the not little, but the project on Pleasant Grove Road on the hill there by the quarry. I do feel like we can financially handle that in the upcoming budget. We have the cash flow to do that. So we have actively worked with landowners. Should have signatures from landowners from all 3 landowners that we've been talking with here within the next couple weeks. 2 of them are out of area, so that's more an issue of getting it mailed to them and mailed back, kind of a thing. But we are going to progress with that, and as long as we don't hit a hiccup, I think what I'm going to do is I do have a construction project in the 5th year of our construction program for a Pleasant Grove Road project, but it's really dollar amount in scope. It's really geared towards a longer paving project. So I think what we're gonna do to keep it clean is I think I'm gonna go ahead and do a construction program amendment, which honestly, I don't know that we've done since any of you guys sat on this board.
I don't remember.
It's not a complicated process, it's just not something we do very often. It was more frequent in the first half of my tenure here. I wanna say more because during some of those early flooding years and stuff, we just had a lot of priorities that shifted and moved around and cash flow changes and stuff like that. And so anyway, we're gonna do a program amendment. We'll put together the paperwork. I just wanted to make you guys aware of it. All that's really gonna do, because we've already discussed the project, and obviously we're working on our construction program for the next fiscal year. All that's gonna do is allow us to go ahead and get a bid put together and get the thing bid. And otherwise, it's really not gonna change anything we discussed during the budget. It just allows us to move quicker. And we do, if we wanna try to get the thing built this year, need to move faster, than waiting till July. So rather than trying to justify the program, that's the project that's buried out in the 5th year, which will stay there because we still have other issues on Pleasant Grove Road, we'll just bring in a new project. We've already got the project number, we're already working on the project, we're there. I mean, we've got a couple weeks maybe of work and it's ready to be a biddable project. So unless you guys have any issues with that, we don't have a cash flow issue, we'll be able to handle it. And let's face it, if we don't bid it until, it'll either be the end of April, the end of May. I mean, it's gonna be one of those two windows. You're not looking at a lot of work before July 1st anyway, but either way.
How long a project is it?
Well, I mean, it's longer. The project to the west of the bridge it was a 1 month project basically. It was a 20 working day project. This is a more extensive project than that. It's longer. And if you remember right, to the west of the bridge, we actually came in with our own crews and did the ditching and stuff so we could get rid of the curb. This is too extensive on this side. There's too much dirt to move for what we do and use and have our equipment for. So there'll be grading and paving as part of the project. So what we're gonna try to do is come up with a scope of project that we're gonna try to get the grading done with minimal to no closure of the road and only have the closure of the road be for the paving. But the paving's probably a 20 to 25 working day project itself, probably 25, it's longer than the other section, and it's gotta be done in multiple. They paved the entire section on the other end, but because of the quarry being located there, we have to keep access to them in some way, shape, or form. So realistically, I mean, it could very easily be a 2-month project or even a tick longer than that in the big picture, the whole thing. So we don't have bid date paperwork put together yet, so I haven't kind of sat down and really dove into the working days. So
I just want to
I would
ballpark
say
whether it was 2 weeks or 2 months.
I would say for sure 2 months is probably what I have to say. The paving itself will be over a month of that. Again, there's also staging in the middle because of access for the quarry. And that complicates that. If there wasn't the staging, they would probably try to pave the entire length all at one time in a long day. But I can't close off that quarry altogether. The quarry is on board with the whole project. They understand, they're willing to work with us, they don't have a problem with it. And it will certainly put a crimp in their style. I mean, they're gonna go from basically 3 access points to 1 during portions of this. But again, I've contacted them, they're fine with it, so. I wanted to give you an idea of that because it is gonna take some additional paperwork. This will be Becky's first time to do that. It's been quite a while actually since we've done it at all, so she's reviewing that to figure out what all we need to put together. So we'll get with Terry and do whatever we need to do on the agendas and run it through. So we're gonna work towards that over the next couple weeks. You'll see that come along fairly soon. So, because it's honestly, once we're done with our final plan review, which is sitting on my desk as we speak, and we get those signatures back on the right-of-way, we're good to go. And the nice thing was all 3 landowners only wanted to do temporary construction easement instead of permanent easement. So that makes it so we can do it all in-house rather than having a surveyor involved with it, a licensed surveyor. And it works good on this project because we just need to keep the ditches on the right of way, but because of the hillsides, we have to slope the ground up into their property. So we'll just do temporary and shape it all up and seed it back down and go on. So there's been a lot of legwork already. Devin's working on that design.
Who's Devin?
Devin Bell is one of my assistants. So anyway, we're pretty much there. I just simply wanted to make sure. I think it's worth accelerating and seeing, unless we find some sort of a hiccup in this whole thing, try to get it out there, get it bid, and try to get the thing constructed this year. Obviously, one of the reasons I'm looking at that, pushing that envelope a little bit time frame wise, is because the DOT has a 2-year project on that is just going to start up this spring for the remainder of the southern 11 miles of the 4-lane. In all likelihood, next spring they will also start up the grading for the interchange or the bypass around Mediapolis. So if we wait till next year, there could easily be double the amount of dirt trucks and stuff coming out of that quarry to have to work around during this project.
What about the price too? Isn't that a good chance that the cost is gonna be more, if we wait till later to get the?
Well, yeah, cost rarely goes down, we certainly stand to have a little bit better competition doing this sooner than later, simply because right now, there's Streb sitting there to finish up the mainline paving, and then Flynn's sitting there ready to come in after them to do some additional paving for the DOT, and so, yeah, we stand to have some better competition. How that impacts price, probably depends on the input stuff that we talked about before this. Does steel stay up? Does that have a rolling effect? As diesel, fuel's going up, does that stay up? Some of that will have an impact, but we're gonna pay that no matter what it is. So I think the better competition would probably be this year also than next year. So, because next year, again, Flynn's gonna hammer on that project, but they do have 2 years to get their work done. Now, if we get a really mild fall next fall, and they get really close to wrapping up, there's nothing saying, which I don't think will be the case, but there's nothing saying they don't pack up their portable plant, move away, work out a deal with Ideal to supply concrete, and maybe we no longer have that competition like we were hoping for next year. So I think this is probably the best case for that. So it's a little late in the game for a construction project to bid it in April, looking for this year's construction, but I don't think it's the end of the world for the situation. And if the bids come in sky high, we'll reject them and we'll bid them next fall for the following year, and we'll just move on with it.
Right on.
So we can adjust accordingly if need be. I just want to make you guys aware, because it is gonna require some additional paperwork, but I think it's the proper way to go about this. At this point, I'm not gonna mess with the program amendment as far as finances. If we get somebody really aggressive coming in and wants to get going immediately and everything, we may need to do a budget amendment. I said program, I meant budget amendment. But we may be looking at a budget amendment anyway. We've got 5 to 6 rock trucks right now hauling rock out the gate every day, and some of that's not paid for yet, some of it's just rock we gotta haul, so, we may be looking at bringing some money in anyway, just to adjust some of our balances. It's not because we have the cash on hand, it's just, when you get a spring like this.
Which year you're gonna spend it in?
Sometimes, yeah, and sometimes, we assume some amount of spot rock, but, when you budget 18 months ahead of time, you don't know that one of those springs might be an $80,000 spot rock year kind of a thing. It's just the nature of the business. So I'll keep an eye on that. If we end up needing to do that, I'll let you guys know. I'll work with Terry. I'll work with Cheryl, and we'll do a budget amendment. So we may end up doing a budget amendment anyway. We'll figure that out closer to that, April time period or something like that. So we'll have a far better grasp then too. We'll be warm, we'll be blading, we'll hopefully have things buttoned up, shaded up, stuff like that. So
I hope we're warm.
I hope so too, actually. I guess I should mention too, we've mailed out for bids for dust control. So just so you guys know, that stuff's out there. Same as we've always done, nothing new, but that is out there. So I'll let you guys know as that stuff progresses. I don't even remember what date we set for a bid opening, but we did talk to Terry and picked a date, so.
Brian, can you let me know who you choose so that I can contact them quickly to do ours?
Absolutely, yeah.
In addition to that?
Absolutely. And I will also extend the offer in the future if you are 100% sure you're gonna do something and what extent you're gonna do, because that's part of that bid is we're guaranteeing X amount of gallons.
Right.
That it could be blended into this bid if you decide you would wanna do that.
Okay.
If they're giving you the same price, you probably don't care, but we do that for Burlington. Burlington does some areas on the south edge of town, and we put theirs into our bid. And then when the contractor does it, they just invoice Burlington directly.
Sure.
So if you ever want to do that, it's probably doable to blend it into this without a whole lot of effort. But there'll be some details to figure out if that comes along. So Anyway, any questions on the project program, that kind of stuff? Equipment, I just wanted to mention, we are working towards replacing, as you guys, you know, you guys haven't even approved a budget, and I'm already looking at the new equipment, and that's because of order time, wait time, to get anything at all. Was nothing new. In the past, we've signed paperwork all the way back into November, December, and we don't get the equipment till July, so somewhere even October sometimes. So this isn't anything new. What I do want to mention to you is give you a little bit of background, I guess. Historically, we have stayed with the two trucking companies that we have offices for here in the county, International and Mac, for Shane's purposes, and you may be familiar with that anyway, with being involved with the tire industry and stuff. But so what we typically have, all of our regular semis, we have 4 semis. 3, really one's kind of a spare, but it goes on our low boy, and those are all Macs. I mean, that's the truck of choice for that particular purpose. Our tandems are all Mac, and unless the board ever forces me, I won't own an International tandem. I won't subject the county to that. They don't have a good reputation. I hate to say that, but the DOT buys International tandems, and they have issues, a lot of issues with them. So you know, same thing. Macs have been our truck of choice on tandems, and that's not going to change anytime soon. However, we've always used International for our single axles. I've been a little frustrated with International for quite a few years, especially their maintenance side of things. But we had a particular point of frustration, I guess, here in the last 6 months or so. We had a truck that was having issues. It's been over there on and off for actually a year or 2. In fact, I'm not sure. I think it's had problems, the same problems on and off almost since we bought it. And they've never been able to figure it out. And finally it just came to a head. Couldn't keep it running. Put it over there. It sat over there for months and months. They couldn't figure it out. Our mechanic would call them, and they were calling their engineers. Couldn't figure it out. They wanted to replace the motor. They wanted to do this and that. You know, I applaud our mechanic for staying on top of it, I guess. So I now have a $19,000 bill sitting on my desk. And the end result was that our mechanic figured out the problem while he was over there trying to go through it step by step, looking at the thing while it was torn down in their shop. It was I'm not a mechanic, but it was derating. It's the whole emissions system problem thing, and in the end there was a flapper valve in the it was either the input or the output exhaust airflow system. Well, that flapper valve was physically sticking. So no computer was going to do anything other than tell you. He's asked about this particular thing before, and they kept saying there's no problems, the computer says it's fine. Well, when you actually physically watched it, it was behind a cab in a hard place to see or something. It was physically sticking, which was changing the oxygen level, which was screwing with the sensor, which was then telling the machine it needed to do whatever the heck they do for their emission control stuff.
$19,000 for that?
Yeah, so I've got a $19,000 bill, and I haven't sat down, or the superintendent hasn't yet sat down and negotiated with them. But where I'm going with all this is, kind of brought my frustration to a head. Not to mention they wanted to come negotiate the $19,000 bill in the middle of a snowstorm. That didn't sit well with me either. So the mechanic called me and said, "What do you want to do?" And I said, "Tell them to stick it. We're plowing snow. We're not negotiating a bill." And that was it. That was the end. We haven't seen them since. They said mailed the bill, and that was it. So we went and got quotes, actually, and we went to Mac, who didn't used to have singles but has singles now, I guess. And then we got a quote from International, which took forever. And Mac came back about $6,000 less. We'll say 5,000 to be conservative. And they've got a little more horsepower in their motor for the price also. So I'm coming to mention to you guys, because I don't typically, Shane, for historical purposes, rarely do I run specific equipment stuff through the board. In fact, we don't, as a governmental entity, we don't have an obligation to go get bids on equipment. A lot of, for instance, what we buy is case, for obvious reasons. But we do own motor graders from CAT, those are all of our motor graders. And I've already told you about our trucks, and really, when you start talking about, that's the bulk of our entire fleet. But every so often we'll get a quote. Sometimes it's just to keep somebody honest. I mean, one way or the other. A couple years ago, I did the exact same thing to Mac, only we went and got a quote from a different Mac dealer, just to make Mick sweat a little bit. Sometimes it's just enjoyable.
I remember that.
We did end up buying it from Mediapolis, but it did bring to their attention that we are watching the dollars. And,
That's good.
And so where I'm at on this is, I'm just gonna ask you the question, because you guys, none of you were on the board, but 12, 14 years ago or something, we had a similar situation with tandems. And that was back when we had a few international tandems still, and we had some Mac tandems. And so we went and I got quotes, and the Mac tandem was almost the same price. I don't remember how, either way, we went and bought the Mac tandem because it was the better truck. And International threw a fit back then, came to the board directly, went straight around me, went to the board. And the board chose to buy the International, and then directed me about a month later to go buy the Mac also. We did a budget amendment actually, because we didn't have two trucks, and that would be the last International truck tandem we ever bought, because the board wasn't thrilled with how it was handled either. So I'm giving you a heads up, because I don't know that it'll come to your doorstep, but I owe it to you to let you know. And I'm just kind of curious on your input. $5,000's not the end of the world. Would you prefer? I'm going to buy a Mac.
What's the total price?
Cab. We're only talking cab and chassis. This doesn't involve snow equipment and everything else. It's just Mac is just shy of 95,000. 94,989.
So it's 5% cheaper.
And International is 104,669. As close to apples as you can get. Would you prefer me go get one International, one Mac, or otherwise I'm probably buying two Macs?
Two Macs.
I just want your perspective.
Two Macs. I ran a construction company for a long time and had different times, and I'd have after so long you'd have favorites of different pieces of equipment. You know, where it be an air compressor or a crane. You know the problems one had, and some dealers. So I'm familiar with some of that stuff, and I don't have any problem at all. I'd buy the two you prefer, and if it's Mac, buy the Macs.
That's probably the direction I was going. But I also want to be upfront, especially with Shane being a new board member. We won't even go through this process on a couple of these others, like the tandems or the semis, because it would be a mistake on our part. I mean, I just won't put our office in that position unless the board eventually demands it. So this is rare, but they really raised the hair on the back of my neck with this, with the problems with the maintenance side of things. So
How many times did you have that truck out there for the same problem?
Oh, Jim, it was plenty of times. I can't even tell you. I know that the mechanic said we've had this problem on and off for a long time.
Well, I think that they should take some of that cost off of there.
Well, so here's where I'm at on that invoice. I'm basically going to ask them to put their best foot forward on that bill. And if they want to hold it 19,000, it tells me what it says a lot to me. If they want to take some off, then that's great. I don't like to go to local companies and feel like I'm trying to screw them or anything like that. That's not the way I like to do business. I agree with what you said, first of all. Let me go back to that. But if they want to hold solid to that says a lot to me about business going forward, I guess is what I would say.
If they already said they wanted to come negotiate during such snowstorm, they aren't wedded to that 19 grand.
No, and they may not be, but they also may be more wedded to it when I go by
Well,
to Max. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's, to me, they're two different conversations, but the obvious overlap. We'll handle that, and I agree with your statement. I don't think anybody in my entire complex disagrees with you on it. I mean, like I said, they were just throwing anything against the wall. Had my mechanic, and he came in and talked to me, had he said, yes, we're putting a whole new motor in that, you wanna know what would've happened? The exact same thing, because it wouldn't have fixed the problem. So, some of that, keep in mind, there are parts that we said, yeah, go ahead and do this, go ahead and do that, go ahead. I mean, I'm not claiming that we don't have some cost in there, but 19,000 worth, I have an issue with that, so, we'll move ahead with this. I'll handle that side of the business. I'll let you know how it turns out. But I more or less wanted you guys to be aware of this, just simply because I know in the distant past, it did end up coming around me and going to the board, and I just wanted you to know what we were doing. So,
Tim, I wouldn't be anxious to come to a meeting and get my laundry aired out about
well,
some
they didn't,
problem.
that was the thing. They didn't come to a
they
meeting back
phoned.
then. They did it behind the scenes in
If they
out
called
in
me, I
front of
wouldn't
the
invite them to a
newspaper.
meeting.
Different people, different times, it may not happen at all.
Yeah.
But, and then just to give you a heads up, because if you do the math, we're gonna add roughly 10 grand a truck, that I was not expecting to add, but we're gonna go to all, my mechanic finally convinced me, he's been trying for a while. We're gonna go to all, electric controls. Right now, what we have is cables coming up through the center, and he finally dragged me out there this right before winter. Those cables come up to the center floorboard and they rust out. And he was finally driving the point home and how big of a nightmare it is when that happens. He had the entire cab torn apart just simply to work on a cable. And there's nowhere it's a bad deal. He said the technology's there if you're willing to spend the money, and I hem-hawed around because that's kind of what I do, as far as spending extra money. But in the end, I think when it all comes out the bottom, I think we're still gonna be within budget. If we're not, again, we do have the cash flow to adjust. Going forward, that 10 grand will be in my estimates, and it'll just be what we know as part of the cost of doing business. So we'll no longer have all those cables that rust and seize up because these trucks spend their life putting salt and sand out and that kind of stuff. It'll all be electronic, and it'll be, I think, a ton better off for the guys.
That's what your joystick is on them cats, isn't it? All electronic.
That's all
Yeah,
electronic.
So it makes
And
sense.
it doesn't mean that you never have problems again.
Yeah.
The electronic stuff still can have some issues, but most of the time it's a sensor or a relay or something like that. Yeah, we go to Tom for all of our IT computer, or our IT equipment needs, when he's not busy helping Colin. So just as a heads up, when you see two trucks come along on claims, and you'll see them at different times because the snow equipment comes at a different time than the chassis and all that sort of stuff. But if you were to try to add them all together and look at what I presented to you, we're already going beyond it, but we'll make it either cover it with money that we already have, or we'll do a budget amendment to cover it, but, it's not worth going in and trying to tweak the budget before you guys pass it. It's not worth that. So, but anyway, that's where we're heading, and that's all I have. It wasn't worth saying you're making everybody sit here. Making Colin sit here, I guess, but everybody else.
It needed to be said.
So,
You know, you take up here at Community Dealership, up there, look how many years that they ran, look how long they ran them Mack trucks up there. I mean,
yep.
they was
Yep,
They've got the expertise and everything, so.
yeah, so, and, yeah, and they're a good truck. I mean, we've had some good internationals. I don't know, this issue with this truck really brought some of this to the front.
You go up on Interstate 80 and sit there and count the internationals, go down the road and then count the Macs.
We had Mack tractors, although everything reminds me of the story. 30 years ago or so, they don't make diamond reels anymore. But that was a semi-tractor. Anyway, so we had an old one. So, gonna sell it, I'm sure we'd gone to Max, but been done a long time. So anyway, so it was sitting, we had a shop out in Danville, right next to the railroad. Old diamond reel out there, had a for sale sign in the windshield. Train goes by, train stops. Engineer jumps out, goes through the ditch, runs up to the shop. He said, how much you want? He collected them.
The train stopped.
Oh, the train
stopped.
And it wasn't, we aren't talking some long passenger train, anyway, runs over there and says, of course, I wasn't there, whoever asked for it. He says, what do you want for that? Anyway, and I don't know where he gave a card or wrote down his number. He says, don't sell that till you talk to me. Then he went back and got in his train.
He took off, huh?
Continued on.
That would be a first, I've heard of.
I didn't get to see it. Yeah, I got a phone call.
Stop the
train, it's a diamond.
He's the only guy I know that train stopped out in the middle of nowhere and took him up to get a candy bar.
Living the dream, man.
Old times.
Yeah,
But-
yeah.
All right, well, thanks for your time, appreciate it.
Okay.
Just wanted to run that stuff through with you, and we'll just keep on going. And as I said during the meeting, if you guys have anything come up road-wise, if you wanna look at it today, that's fine. If you don't, that's fine. But don't ever hesitate to pass it on. So.
I just got another text from a guy that said, thanks a lot. He said, they just laid down fresh gravel on my road.
All right.
I said, I appreciate it. I texted him back, I said, you're welcome, it was all me.
You should take full credit, take full credit.
That's right, when it's good, I'm gonna say it's all me,
That's
when it's
right.
bad, I'm gonna say, call
It's gotta be
Brian."
Carter.
Man.
So, I guess that proves my point, we are out working.
Yeah, they're out there.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. We're adjourned.
Okay.
Hey, Brian.
I had a.
Yes, sir.
No, we're not on paper and